So, welcome to the new format Cornerstone Catch Up. Dean's not here today because he's actually out in Birmingham looking for properties for us. So, as we've started to work in Birmingham, we needed a day of pounding the streets and speaking to agents and landlords. So that's where Dean is today. I think we're in the better position actually because we haven't got the weather. So nice and dry inside. So this time we'll be speaking to Abby and Derrik Sanders, who are the director and assistant director of Keystone Foundation. Keystone's a particularly important charity to us because they're a charity that we actually founded. So back in April last year, Dean and I decided that it would be really good to found a charity, and we brought Abby and Derrik in really early on because we knew that we weren't going to be able to dedicate the time it needed to be able to do the charity. So we spoke with those guys over a number of months, and they agreed to come in and set up and run the charity, which is fantastic. We're still involved, so we're still trustees of the charity. And it's been a really good journey working with them.
Yeah, it was great to have a proper catch up with them, wasn't it? So they've just celebrated like a year in service. So to get some highlights of how they found the year, especially setting up a charity and getting to grips with it in the midst of all that's been happening COVID land wise. So yeah, it was really good. And I was surprised at how much experience I've actually had in the sector. I didn't realize like 10 years said it was on there. So that was good. So yeah, it was nice to have a proper catch up with them and get to share some of the successes of Keystone and how it's evolved over the past 12 months, which was great.
Yeah, looking forward to the next year as well.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, here they are.
Straight into it. How are you guys?
Yeah, doing well.
Yeah, really good.
Having a cup of coffee. And,
How was your weekend?
Oh, it's pretty busy actually.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
Yeah. So I play guitar at church, and we had our normal service, but then we recorded something for a festival, so it was pretty busy there. And then Abby
we were helping people move house, so
Yeah.
I'm like every kid in the books in my home, I think. So. Obviously within restrictions at once.
Yeah, of course. I think it's strange, isn't it? Since things have started to open up again, it's the weekends go so quick because you can actually do things, you can actually see things and actually go places. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah. Have you been in a restaurant yet?
Have I been in a restaurant? Oh, yeah. I went for one of the things that me and Dean do is every so often try and get like a couple of hours together, because inevitably we're starting to split things in different ways within Cornerstone. And what that means is we have less time together. So we try and get like a decent chunk of time together, but that's always really difficult. And the one thing going back pre-pandemic, the thing that always guaranteed we could do that was going out for a breakfast. So we'd have a breakfast, and it was like a tradition, harvest a breakfast, and then we'd have a couple of hours just catching up on some of the other stuff that we didn't get to catch up on. So we went to harvest the other day, and I think it was a bit of a shock to the system.
Yeah.
That much food, but it was great. It was really nice just to be able to not have to clean up.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Wait, what? I don't wash these dishes.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. Right, it's only proper, guys, that'll get you to tell us who you are and about your background.
Yeah, I'm Abby, and I run Keystone. I'm the director. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Derrik, assistant director at Keystone, and we've done some charity work previously, and that's kind of what has been our main role for the past decade plus is in kind of the charity, non-for-profit like world. So yeah, it's been just like great being able to continue that and be able to be involved in charity that's really helping people. And and so Keystone, excited to talk about some of the things we're doing at Keystone today, and just some of the things that have happened over this past year.
So in terms of like where you guys are based, I can pick up a Birmingham accent. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, better.
Yeah. Was that your attempt at a Brummie accent there, Derrik?
It was Brummie's slang.
Yeah.
I'll teach it to you after the call.
Yeah, thank you. We're not talking Birmingham, Alabama. We're
but we're from America. If you didn't,
really?
Shocking. Yeah. But yeah, we personally live in Birmingham. If our daughter was here, she's the real Brummie in the family. So she could give you a good accent.
Yeah. So I'm from Alabama. So I grew up about 3 hours away from Birmingham, Alabama.
So you're 10 years in the kind of charity space. Has that all been over in the UK, or was that in America as well? How long have you been over here?
So we've been here 8.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So majority of it here. Yeah.
And just a couple years with some not-for-profits in the States.
Yeah.
Is there any that we'd know the names of? Have they all been quite small charity startup kind of ones? And what sphere was it in?
Yeah, so smaller ones. And previously we did work with university students kind of in the Christian sector. So that's what we did previously in the States, and then moved over here to do that for a while. And then now work at Keystone. So changing gears quite a bit. Yeah, but really loving it. Yeah.
In terms of that, what drew you guys to working in the non-profit sector? Because it's quite, I suppose, well, not specialist, because obviously there's loads of different charities and non-profits that do all sorts of things. But I assume, I have no basis for this, but I assume in America there's quite a route towards different careers. I'm just assuming, whether it's your family or when you go through this sort of school and college system, you get pushed towards a particular route, just like you would in the UK, I suppose. So what makes the decision where you go, actually, this isn't, I don't want to go down like this particular route. Instead, I want to go and work for a non-profit.
I think for both of us, we've been really impacted by different individuals and different nonprofits, things like that, and that had kind of changed the course of our life or built us up, in a way that previously we wouldn't have been. And I think it just changed us to want to kind of give back in the same way, but for forever or for as long as so far, I think it's really that. And that just became like really core of who we are, like just helping people. Not that like a lot of people aren't about helping people, but I think, I don't know, like I don't really have hobbies. Like I just really love people. And so then I really love like helping people when they want to change something in their life or do something in a better way. I love being able to like speak into that and help them do that, if it's giving them the tools or just the conversation around that. And I think you're quite similar, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's been a part of it, and I think for you as well, like just growing up, I remember like helping and volunteering with my mom when she was running a food bank. And so I think it's just been, from childhood, just kind of like a big part of my life and a big part of our life of just being there for people to support them.
I'm just thinking when I was younger, and I thought, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I'm still growing up. But it went between a bin man and a brain surgeon. So I've just, for obvious reasons, obviously, I didn't become a brain surgeon because I was really squeamish. So that was the end of that. Couldn't stand the idea of like seeing a brain. And I don't know why I didn't become a bin man. Maybe it's looked like too much hard work. But what about you guys? What was your thing when you were growing up where you're like, I'm going to be that?
When I was a kid, I was an astronaut. Like I love space. And I think if I didn't have a family or any connections here, the upcoming like missions to Mars would be like, yep, let me sign up for that.
You're not even just kidding. Like he talks about it all the time, and it really stresses me out. Like space, like really stresses me out. I don't know.
That's funny, Abby. So like you actually worried you might get there.
Yeah.
Like, Derek, stop talking about it.
Yeah, he's like, in like X amount of years, like this will be standard. Like this is just what people will do. And I'm like, no.
Maybe that's could take Keystone to Mars. You never know. First charity on Mars.
Yeah, that's it. There you go. There you go. For all those Martians that need our help. Imagine that in your charitable purposes. Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic.
All
So-
solutions welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's in your discrimination policy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So in terms of, that's a fair old while that you've been working in this sector then. What would you say has been the sort of standout moment so far in those past sort of 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, obviously working at Keystone is very standout, obviously. But I think to look back over it's like 9 months and to see what we were able to accomplish in a pandemic has been amazing. And like Project Santa specifically, like us being able to partner with Cornerstone on that after, I think we've been there 4 months. And I mean, I can't take like any credit really. I mean, it was Derrik and then Cornerstone team and then our volunteers. But yeah, I think that's huge. I guess previous to that has been because just kind of been like impacting people for a decade, you start to see the lasting impact. And so when I was kind of thinking about this, I was like, oh yeah, like for me, that's the standout moment. And when we left our previous charity, a lot of people kind of reached out, because that's like a good time when you see people moving on, and just to hear like the little things you did that actually changed someone's world. I think that is very humbling, but then stands out for sure for me.
I was going to say, have you been able to see kind of like that first-hand impact of things when you're obviously director or the position a bit higher up? You can suppose get disconnected from on the ground what's actually happening and like the change it makes to people. So have you seen much of that in your experience so far? And like saying, has there been anyone that's stuck in your head over these years? Project Santa might be one for the future, that kind of image that we'll talk about in a bit about family, but has there been any kind of previous ones to that where it's like, oh, that's really stuck with me, or I got to see firsthand that made a real difference? As
far as like, are we getting that now? I think we're making changes to make sure that we are, even if it's just a few people that we're getting to have more of an impact on. Because I think we realize like we need that. We need to see how the impact, and seeing numbers just doesn't do it for us, which is probably no surprise from what we've already shared. Like the numbers are amazing, but we're like, why is that not connecting? Well, it's because we want to hear their stories, firsthand. Oh man, it's really hard to think about one person from previously who stood out, but I think a lot of the support we did previously, supporting students who had mental health challenges, and there have been a couple that were in really dire situations, even when the doctor said, oh, if you weren't here, kind of worst case scenario, and those, but then to now see, 5-6 years later where those people are at, and that we, kind of walked that long process with them. Yeah, that they're thriving, and that it's just a 180. I mean, not that, a lot of us will always carry different mental health challenges, but that it doesn't drive their life anymore. Just to see that 180 for them has been amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that we've realized that you're kind of referencing is, and during lockdown, I imagine we've all like learned so much about ourselves and like relearned some things. But something that we kind of put into words now is that we like to see the impact of people and to be a part of that long term. Like we do believe there's a place for like a touch base support where it's like we come in one time and then refer them off to someone. That's still helping someone. The thing that fills us up is walking the process with people and seeing how they change over the course of time, as opposed to just like we're one little blip of their story. And so I think that's kind of some things we're going to be thinking about as we move forward in Keystone, is how does Keystone become a support long-term in people's life, and is not just this one little moment where they experience us and it was good, they got help and support. But yeah, so I think that'll shape some of the ways we approach our support services going forward.
Yeah, still having the one or two touches, but then how does it look growing?
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I think you think about the projects like Project Santa, where it's got the big wow, and for people outside looking in, like they look at that and go, "Oh, that's fantastic, that's amazing," you know, seeing the reaction, seeing the finished article. And for those of you that are watching this that haven't seen it, it's probably on. Have we got something on social media on it, Joe, on that sort of reveal?
It's all over it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We did a live tour reveal as well, which will still be on there, which did really well. And
Yeah,
the whole month of stuff over on Keystone's channels and Cornerstone's one. Yeah, really.
I was going to say, if for anybody who is interested, just have a look, because it was really fantastic. So, you know, you get those things, but they are, like you say, they're the shiny things, aren't they? They're the one big shiny things. It's like like you say, donations of equipment, like things like white goods and stuff might make a massive difference at that time. But it is that ongoing ability to be able to, you know, speak to somebody, pick up the phone, make a difference. Because one of the things that's really stuck with me is I was talking to our housing team, and one of our housing team, Chantel, and she was explaining about the situation of one of our residents, and that she'd been spending some time working through with her. I think you guys are supporting her, actually. The thing is, she spent a whole lifetime of challenges and issues and complexities, and just some circumstances and things that are just beyond belief, really, in terms of all the different things that she's been through. And that doesn't just get undone by one kindness or one interaction. That takes as long to undo as it does to do it. So even longer sometimes. So I think it's really interesting to think about that. I always remember when we were talking to Carly from Cypher, you know, she said they don't have like a 3 strikes and you're out type policy. You know, they'll just work with people as long as they need to. So I really like that mentality of, which is interesting actually, because obviously for you guys being so new, and you know, charities take decades to get to a position where they're, you know, productive and established and all those sorts of things. And what you've achieved since you've joined, and the structures and everything, has been a monumental effort, and would be a monumental effort in the most normal of times, let alone trying to do it in a lockdown with, you know, very impatient trustees. You know, that's incredible, really. That's probably a good segue into you guys sort of explaining what Keystone is, what Keystone does, and sort of the main focus areas. I think that'd be really useful.
Yeah, we are. Sorry, this is not the part I should be fumbling and was not ready for the segue. But I'm just like really enthralled by what you were saying, and then
you're just thinking Gavin's admitting he's impatient. What? What, you've been in 3 months? Why haven't we helped lots of people?
But kind of our tagline is to empower families to break the cycle of poverty and homelessness. And we do that with 3 main areas: housing and support services, and kind of hardship or one-off hardship grants, I guess. And the support services we offer currently are, we have a befriending service, which is really exciting. And it is kind of what we just talked about, kind of pairing a volunteer with someone to walk a long time, you know, with that kind of weekly struggles just going on in their lives, and to connect them with the community. And we have mental health support groups, and then money management and debt relief support. So sometimes those are groups, or they can be one-on-one. Oh, and we're going to launch parenting groups hopefully by the end of the summer, as long as everything else is running smoothly.
One of the things that, in terms of a new project that I really want to talk about, is this new idea, because I know Derek and the property, just for a bit of context, in terms of one of the things that Abby and Derek have done is probably worth referencing as well, that me and Dean are trustees of the charity, and we've got a really good group of trustees. I can say that because we're one of them. And Abby and Derek have sort of been supporting the trustees in terms of the best structure. And we've been working together and said that to get the most out of the support that we can provide is we split into different committees. And those committees are focused on those 3 core areas that Abby was talking about. And the committee that me and Dean are part of is the property committee. And we've got this really cool project. Probably good for you to explain it, Derek, because I think it's really exciting in terms of potential, you know, one of those one-off things that can make a big difference.
It's kind of this idea around having a holiday home. Just to give some background, when we first came onto Keystone, I remember Dean and Gavin kind of pitching this idea, this dream out there of like, oh, wouldn't it be great if like we had this holiday home where we could, send families onto, and that like it could be a place of retreat for people. And so that was like kind of one of the things you're like dreaming of at the beginning, but now like through this past year of, I guess there's been points where we've like kind of come back to it and talked about it a little bit more. And then recently it's just been like, yeah, this feels like we can go for it. And it actually seems like a legit possibility that we could do this. So the idea is for Keystone to have a holiday home, access to a holiday home. And at the moment, the model would be 9 months of it is for commercial use, and that 9 months would fund the use for the 3 months of social purposes. And during that time of the social purpose, we'd be able to send families that we're connected with or who have been referred to us on a holiday. And maybe they've never been on a holiday before, maybe they would never be able to afford going on a holiday, but this is going to kind of make a reality for some of those people who have been, in really hard situations and can't get any rest or respite. And so this is super exciting to think about being able to send families on holiday soon. And we've had things approved by the trustees, budgets approved. It's just now about kind of executing the plan and finding a property, getting the funding in place and making it happen. So that's super exciting to think about. And, we've seen some research done by some other charities who do similar things, and the impact that it has on people's mental health and just taking, a few days away or 5 days a week just to not think about the stresses of life and just to create memories with your family. Doing those things just increases people's well-being so much, and that's exciting to think about. And we're looking at the Blackpool area for right now, and make some contact with some charities there to offer support while families are on holiday as well. So it's not like we just send them away and they're kind of on their own, or we're 2 hours away from Birmingham. And just to be able to provide holistically just some support, while they're there, when they come back, keeping in touch and maintaining that support as well.
And just to say, like, the goal long term would be that the house can just fully be for families to go on holiday. Yeah. So
it's one of those things that almost the sort of milestones of my childhood I can always remember back to a holiday. You just think about when you was in a particular place and time with your family and loved ones, and then even now, we're having kids now, those memories are just really special, the ones that you can form when you're away, because like you say, you take away the pressure of everyday life, the jobs to do, all those things. And I think it's really exciting. And I think in terms of like those one hit things that we can do, I think potentially will be a real, like what you say, like almost like a respite from those pressures and give the opportunity to reset. So I'm super excited about that. I just in my head, I've just got this vision of the kids with an ice cream on the beach. You can't beat that, can you? Just go in and thank, almost like that sigh of relief of, wow, fantastic. It would just be really cool, and to be able to make that happen. I know there's a way to go yet, and like all these things, but again, just over a year since the charity's formed, and to be talking about potential projects like this is pretty phenomenal. And it's not just the one thing, is it? Like, there's all the other stuff that you guys have got going on, which is incredible, really, when you think about it. For a lot of charities, that'd be it. That'd be the one thing.
I guess with the holiday home, long-term dream would be that we have them across the country, where no matter where someone's located in the UK, that there would be one within reasonable distance from them. So that's like kind of a long-term dream with that. And then with all of the other things going on as well, there have been points where we've had to like stop and kind of refocus and like, okay, what are we doing? What do we need to focus on right now? Like, what's most important? And I think that's been really helpful. And especially with some of our support services, the befriending, getting volunteer program in place. And
how have you found getting volunteers during this time? Because it's, I suppose, in one way you see almost like an outpouring of kindness from people, where they're like, we want to make a difference. It's been a really tough time. Let's make a difference. But then in another way, some people have withdrawn from doing things because of the risks.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is, now this far into what's happened the past year or so, it's like you're seeing almost like international burnout. Like people are just, they maybe initially they did a lot. So I would say we've had better luck with people who are personally connected with us volunteering, and so I think that's what we're going to be looking forward towards the summer, of like branching out our volunteer, how do we get more people involved? But I think people like volunteering for projects they believe in, or with people they believe in. And so I think that's going to be our greatest connection, utilizing us, the trustees, other volunteers. That's been a link, someone volunteers with us and then they refer someone else, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't say we've had masses by any means, but we're really hoping, that comes.
We have 5 people who are volunteering, helping in kind of various areas, whether it's bid writing, funding, befriending, and so that's some really, really great people who are helping out. And and Project Santa, we had one of our friends who she's worked in London with, I think she was doing interior design with people's second home, and so she was like used to like really high quality stuff, but was like, I want to know how I can take my experience and my passions, but apply that to help people instead of just designing homes for someone's second home. And so she donated all of her time during Project Santa to work on the interior stuff and volunteer with us. So that was that was really great.
I think too, like the same way we want to tailor support as much as we can for clients or service users, we love doing that for volunteers. I have worked with volunteers for a long time. That was like my focus before coming to Keystone. And so I just feel like that's, again, like this input into someone, and then that input then can change so many other lives. If you have one volunteer that you're really helping them use what they're good at, change, like just what you spoke about, then they're going to want to do so much more. Because they're going to be more passionate.
I've always found volunteering to be, or the management of volunteer to be, one of the toughest things, because when somebody sort of takes that step into volunteering, and I suppose my personal experience of this is with church, where you start to get involved in it, and everybody's busy, no matter what your circumstances, we're all busy. And so when you put your time forward and say, right, I'm going to do this now, you want to feel, there's a few things I think psychologically going on. You want to feel like what you're doing is worthwhile, and you want to be told what to do so you can feel productive. Because the amount of times that in different things, not necessarily through church, but all different things, where you sort of turn up and go, oh great, I'm gonna be a big help, and then you're sort of standing around going, what am I meant to be doing? Who am I meant to be helping? How is this? And when you've got somebody really coordinating you and investing in you as a volunteer, you want to do more of it, like you say, because actually you feel like, oh, this is really good. I'm really helping. I'm making a big difference. And so, that's quite a specific thing to be able to like I say, it really makes a difference in terms of volunteering. So how do you, I suppose, connect with the volunteers that reach out to you and make sure they feel that way?
Yeah, I think it's like just hearing from them. Okay, what's your experience? What are you passionate about in general? And then I think it's on our side strategically thinking, okay, what part of that, it's probably not the whole 100% of their volunteering, if they're, but looking at what they tell you and how could you make that the majority of the way they volunteer, so that then the percentage that isn't that, it's actually way overcompensated by the other. And so it kind of leans on us to be really proactive, I think.
And an approach we took with our previous charity and kind of took this with like staff as well, was doing 75% of what you love, but then also making sure there's a 25% in there of things that challenge you and things that you don't enjoy doing. You're happy within the context of what you're doing, but you're also implementing things that are going to push you and grow you as a person and as an employee and staff member and teammate. So yeah.
That's a great point. That bit of growth in there, like you say, not always easy though when you don't necessarily like it though.
That's an interesting point about volunteering. I don't know if ironic is the right word, but volunteering is giving up your time to help other people. But then you're saying it has to be something that you want to do or are passionate about, or that makes you feel good. Like, it shouldn't be about you essentially. Shouldn't want to do stuff for others, but I'll only do that if I like the task that you've asked me to do, and then I'll feel a bit more motivated to do it. It's quite, like I say, it's a weird balance to kind of strike to make sure people are invested in doing it because they internally want to do it, but it should be about, well, you should get enough gratification from knowing what you're doing is helping other people.
It's funny though, isn't it, Joe? Because if I think back to some of the volunteering that you've arranged for us at Cornerstone, and when we went and helped out at the when we cooked the food at the food bank, and that was a great example for me of like really clever like use of volunteers. Is straight away there was front of house staff, the people that were serving people and just walking around and chatting and getting drinks and stuff, and then there was the team in the kitchen, and the volunteer coordinator there was really good at sort of saying who wants to go and do that, who's happy going and doing that sort of out of front stuff. Because for me, I know myself well enough to know that would be my 75% of outside of my comfort zone, would be going and serving teas and coffees and stuff. I'd be sweating, I'd be panicking, like making small talk's not my thing. And whereas they put me in the kitchen, I was like, oh, thank goodness, I'll work all day long washing pots and cooking stuff. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Is if you get it wrong, then people will go, oh, that was too hard, too painful, I don't want to do that again. Whereas I'd gladly go back and do some more cooking or washing up on. And every year I always talk about aces to their places. Every little job has its own value in its own way, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing too. Is like, I feel like at times, and I've been a part of places or volunteered at places where it was like you're a volunteer and you're viewed as like you're just doing a task for us. And I think like what we feel is we want volunteers to come and learn something, but also feel like they're helping and providing support to people. But at the end of the day, that they can walk away like a better person and more knowledgeable than when they came to us, and that would inspire them to continue, almost like how they are a volunteer, when they're walking down the street. I think it's a kind of a lifestyle, like almost a lifestyle change of how we want that to be.
And you want them to come back. Like that's a big thing. And like you're saying, like if you show people how to do it within what is mostly comfortable to them, then they'll naturally do it. I think that's what you're getting at, wasn't it? So, yeah.
What I was going to ask about it then is obviously volunteers coming on board and how it's been the past 14, 15 months, however long we've been in COVID land. How has that made it more difficult, or how has that changed like the onboarding process or finding out about the people and the services that you do now? Has it been able to do any of that in person or in a setting, or is it been virtual or delayed, and how has it been affected?
So everything has been virtually, except I actually do some befriending with a couple of women in Birmingham. And again, I chose to do that instead of looking for a volunteer because I realized I needed some face-to-face with people. But everything else has been virtually. That's more comfortable for people. And what we're finding is because of the chaotic lives, I think that we all lead, but what we found for our clients, virtual is easier to do. They'll sign up for a mental health support group in an evening while their kids are sleeping because they couldn't leave, a single parent, So actually the virtual thing has been really helpful, I guess. But it does make it, I think it is harder for the volunteering because it's hard to connect with people from a screen. So I think the befriending people are more keen to go inside face to face, whereas our other programs, people are happy to do because it's like a program, I guess.
It's good because that probably would have never really been a thing before now. Because I know like I say, we're all a bit Zoom fatigued and burnt out from it, but I'd say the benefits of it, it's made people that feel a bit more uncomfortable in those kind of settings. Like I say, it's made it more accessible for them and a bit easier to, like I say, feel a bit more relaxed over time. And then I suppose when you can eventually meet up in person or do things in person, I've already had that, well, I know these people now, or I feel more comfortable. So that first person meeting won't feel as intimidating or overwhelming for them, you'd hope. So
yeah, I think it's going to be figuring out the balance of it once things kind of settle back out, because we were all in person before the lockdown, and then once lockdowns hit, everyone's on Zoom. So then once the pendulum kind of rests back in the middle, it's going to be figuring out what's a good balance of interaction. So
I think one of the things I was thinking about the other day is that the people still, even after over a year of using it, people still aren't 100% comfortable with the technology. Like the amount of times I jump on calls and people are struggling with this or they're on mute or whatever, and that just for me tells me that it's not going to be like a long-term full-on thing that we'll have to. Like I'm hopeful, talking through those percentages that we can get sort of 80% back in person again, and still use this as a tool, but just that it can settle more on that sort of. I don't think you can beat that connection that you get in person.
Yeah,
just sitting in the same room. And I know as a team we've been talking about, as in terms of relationships as a team, sort of gelling together, that proximity piece. And I know there's a lot of studies out there that say the closer together people are, even just when they're sitting close together, that they work together more closely. And I suppose that's been okay for you guys, hasn't it, in terms of a team? Because obviously
too close. It's like literally never leave.
Never apart. You're like, oh no. I'm going to work, Derek. Oh no, you're still here.
Just walk across the room.
Sometimes we do work at like opposite ends. It's just like nice to be quiet.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, we started talking about our re-entry strategy to office space. So.
One of the things that I think is really interesting is the dynamic of the charity world and how you build and model something. And I know that the charity sector is different. And I suppose one of the questions we wanted to ask was how does running a charity differ from running a normal business? Now, I know that you guys haven't necessarily run another business. I mean, you may have. It may be something that we've never spoke about. But what would you think would be those differences of running a charity? I think I've got a few insights that we could probably. What do you think?
I think you guys will have like a good view of what that looks like from that end. But from what I've been able to pick up on, I feel like business world is a much faster pace. Like that, it's more reliant upon your drive, initiative, connections, and the income you're generating. Whereas within the charity world, it's much slower pace. You're almost building up a reputation in order to be able to get a foundation to establish as a charity. One thing that comes to mind is with funding is like that would probably be the thing we would say is one of the most challenging things for new charities is getting the funding. Because there's certain grants where you need 3 years worth of accounts to be able to apply for it. There's if you're not around very long, it just limits the amount of funding you can have access to. And I think the interesting thing is you need money to help people, but you have to help people in order to get the money.
Yeah, you have to prove you're helping people and have statistics. Yeah,
it's this circle that you're kind of figuring out. Okay, where can I get into the circle and get into the loop on?
Which that might translate to the business world in a different way, but maybe not with the actual people.
Yeah. So I think I described it to Dean. I think in metaphors all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I'm sitting by myself, I think of a metaphor and I'm like, oh, that's a really good analogy. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
we were talking about this previously, and I think I described it, Dean, maybe even you, I can't remember, maybe you're in the conversation as well. The kind of difference I see is like business world is kind of like your lightweight boxing. It's like fast, it's quick, there's like 300 jabs in 30 seconds. And but in the charity world, it's more like heavyweight, like it's a slower pace. You can't just like go as fast as you can because like you'll burn out or and so I think that's kind of the like image that comes to mind when I think of the business and the charity world.
I've not heard that one. That must have been one just for Dean, because I can see that. You watch being a boxing fan, you watch the first round, it's very tentative because they're feeling it out, because at any time, that's it. It can be that one big hit and you're down. So I think that's a really interesting way to think about it. I like that. I like the way you've explained that in terms of the setting the foundations as well, bringing that in. Because you're right, that's the thing that surprised me. It surprised me, like with the grant funding and things like that, like 3 years. Well, how do you get 3 years of accounts without any money to run a charity? Particularly if you want to, if you have aspirations. And the other thing that I think has been a learning curve, and I wouldn't say a frustration because I know why they have it, is like the Charities Commission in terms of the level of checks and measures and rules and stuff. That's pretty heavy. And I know you guys are having conversations with the Charities Commission all the time, and I think obviously the work they do is fantastic, because what they're doing is they're protecting the institution of charity to make sure it's doing what it should be doing and isn't abused and isn't used for the wrong purposes. But in the same vein, compared to a business, obviously we run a very sort of ethical and socially focused business. But your parameters that you can work in are quite, you can make quick decisions. You can pretty much do what you want. Whereas that's not the case at all in the charity world, is it? It's very much regulated. It's very heavily regulated. So that means that by its very nature, it's a slower moving beast, because you have to navigate that stream. More of a, using your analogy piece, it's more of a meandering stream, isn't it? You've got to take the turns, and you can't just go straight there. You've got to follow the route.
Yeah, and I think it's all about having that long-term mindset as well. And we're already seeing, moving into our second year, things starting to pick up, and being able to support more people. We've had some good grants come in, and finally we had one grant who they were like, if you can do this well, like this year, we're going to support you 2 more years. And so that's encouraging to hear and to see grant funding come in, because there's people out there that believe in what you're doing. And I think that's a huge motivation when we've gotten those, like, yes, we want to support you. It's like, okay, like, people believe in this, and like, it's not just us and the trustees who think this is a good idea, but there's other people who do as well.
If people wanted to help out, either financially in terms of supporting the work that you're doing, or to volunteer, or just learn more about Keystone, what would be the best way for them to do that?
I think just to contact us, probably through Facebook or Instagram, right? Or you can go to our website.
Yeah, website.
Just to reach out. We're very hands-on, like you said, so you'll get a reply, someone to talk to really quick.
So I think the website would probably be the best way. Yeah, because it has all of our connections on there that means. So.
But again, we're new and moving, so if you're like, oh, I'd really like to help in this way, it's not like a given on the website. Would you need help? We've had some people help, like admin background stuff that has been amazing, but it's not like apparent on our website that, we can do that. But again, we kind of we're at the phase where we can tailor stuff sometimes. So yeah.
Right. We can certainly share the links anyway within this, is when we put it out on our socials, for where people can go to help. But also, if there's anybody watching that think, oh, I'd like to learn more and maybe help donate, then you can always get in touch with Cornerstone as well, and we'll point you in the right direction to Abby and Derrik, so you can sort of learn more about the work that's going on. I think it's been an incredible first year. Thinking of where we've come from. Starting. I know you guys picked up what was it was a charity in name, because it got like a charity number, and it got like a name. But aside from that, when you guys came in, it was nothing else. nice idea, and you've formed it into a living, breathing thing that is, you know, out there helping people on a day-to-day basis, and that's phenomenal because, like you say, you're laying the foundations for changing people's lives for the next. Well, it's basically creating the legacy of the charity and what it can do, and it's been a real privilege to be part of seeing, you know, over the last 9 months, seeing that grow, and I'm just really excited about the next year in terms of the outcomes and the differences that we can make and really building those services. Yeah, watch out, 2021.
That's right.
Yeah,
we're coming for you. It's great. And so I suppose, guys, just in terms of getting some quirky questions, Joe always likes to put these in. I'm going to ask you some quick fire quirky questions, and and I want you to be as honest as you can, just so we can add a bit of lightness to all of this serious charity talk. So, what's the first thing you'll do when the lockdown is fully over? I know we're a bit further towards nearly fully over, but what's the first thing you're going to do when you can just be totally free?
I want to go to America to see our family. Done.
That's
Like
good
in 2 years, a long time. Yeah.
Good
well,
answer.
yeah, I think that's a good one. I think my I took it literally. So lockdowns tend to ease on Mondays. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'll probably wake up with Ruby, take her to school, and then come back to the office, the home office, and work.
Lame.
Oh, wow, Derek. Brilliant, thanks. I like yours, Abby. Would edit Derek's out as rubbish.
Yeah.
We'll just insert something cool in there. I want to go and play some like guitar in the middle of it.
What do you actually want to do? Play festivals?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go to a festival. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. So, would you travel back in time or forward in time, and why?
Forward. And just forever forward thinking. That's why.
I'd go forward because I want to see what technology exists in the future.
Yeah.
Thought he was going to say so you can go to space.
Yeah, so we can go to Mars.
An option will be there.
There's no the answer, if both answers are, there's no right or wrong answer anyway. But everyone has gave some really good answers to that question so far for different reasons. I was like, yeah, definitely forward. Dominic on the last one with his reasons for going backwards, I was like, oh my God, of course we'll go backwards. But I'm like, forward. So
Yeah.
it's a really good one for people. I'd like to ask the next one. So I want to know your last binge watch or your Netflix or Amazon recommendation.
So we are currently binge watching The Rain, which is a Danish series about apocalyptic rain. I don't want to give too much away in case anyone wants to watch it out there. So
yeah, it's really good. Like there's a lot of like deep themes and meanings that's what I love in the show. So you can pull out.
I think Derek, you gave me some really good ones last year, which I mean they're still just on the Netflix list, but I think we had The Dark, was it, or The Missing? They were like fun ones, so wasn't it? Yeah, deep and twisted any drama things. So
have you guys watched Away? It's Hilary Swank. It's on Netflix. You'll like it, Derek, because it's about going to Mars. It's really good.
It's on our list, I think.
Yeah, it's really good. You should save that one. It's great.
I'll probably have to watch that by myself since Abby gets so about it.
No, you would like it, Abby. You would like it. It's really good. So the final one then, your dream dinner party table, you and 4 guests, dead or alive.
So I think Gandhi, you have to have someone like that. I think Serena Williams, I think she's amazing. And just, she's so young, she's accomplished so much. And like, I don't know. Oprah, because she has like, I mean, honestly, one of the most inspiring stories, I think. And she just, I think she'd be incredible to have for dinner. Like, the conversations would be so good. And then I thought this very, I don't know, topical American, British, but I think the Queen because she's so like she's been around for so much of the world, like changing, and I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about that. Like, I think she'd be amazing.
Oprah and the Queen be interesting.
Our table.
Yeah,
Our table.
That is a good table.
Yeah.
So I'll go with the obvious one first because of the theme we've had throughout this recording. So I go Elon Musk. I think that would be just some interesting conversations there, particularly around AI. I think that would be some interesting ones. Kobe Bryant. I'm a Lakers fan, and then grew up watching him play. Got to see him play live one time in Atlanta, so that was so good.
He has like a really inspiring way he lived his life.
Yeah, the Mamba mentality. Look that up. I won't explain too much of it. But Steve Carell, just because he's funny on screen, but I've heard stories that he is like such a caring person off screen, and it's like a totally different personality. And then I think I would go. It was going to be Jimi Hendrix, just because legendary guitarist. I think actually I'd go Michelle Obama. I just thought of this while we were sitting here.
She competed for Oprah's spot at my table.
I think just like having conversations around just social justice, and I think just hearing her views on things would be really inspiring. And she's always like, things she posts sometimes are just like really like, oh wow, yeah, like that's really inspiring and insightful, and I feel like I could walk away with some nuggets there.
Yeah, I mean that's another really good table. I mean this is a great question. Is this a new question, Jeff?
Yeah. I've heard it. Pinched it from other podcasts. Basically, there are going to be so many power tables, but there are these two mega ones to start off with.
We can have a league.
Yeah.
A league of power tables. Abby and Derek are definitely winning. I'm to be honest, it's a toss up between Abby and Derek as to who's going to win there. We're going to have to take votes on that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Very inspirational tables. I mean, I was thinking like Jimmy Cranky, and I don't know if you guys know who that was. You won't know who that was. Look up the Crankies. Then that'll tell you the difference between you guys and me. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a little bit about Keystone and the work that you've been doing. It's just really good to hear. And I know we get the inside scoop anyway, but just thank you for that. It's been great. And what would be nice actually is if we can get you back on in another year's time.
Yeah.
Sort of keep that milestone of work that you guys have been doing and the difference you've made. But just thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's been great.